I am John Antonetti. I am 56, and I'm a learner. That's my introduction. We're going to talk about powerful tasks, but even before we do there, I'd like to post my objective. Research says that if you post your objectives, your learners will look at it, especially during a walkthrough. You know, there are two types of children in every classroom in America. I've learned this. There is Melissa Sue. Melissa Sue is the kid who's playing the school game, and she comes every day to school with one goal in mind, and that is to help you be better. Do you know what I'm talking about? If you're not sure, find the Melissa Sue at your table. She has all of her markers laid out. She's ready. But if you've taught very long or been in the schools very long, you know that for every Melissa Sue, there's the other end of the spectrum. In my home state of Arkansas, we call that child Bubba. And I want to be clear, Bubba and Melissa Sue, there's no difference in their intelligence. It's just why they come to school. Melissa comes to school to achieve and get a gold sticker and take your place someday. Bubba comes to school because it's where the bus stopped. And I know that when you post your objective, Melissa Sue reads it, writes it down in her journal, and achieves it. Bubba comes in wanting just to have a relationship. Hey, Mr. Antonetti, what are we doing today? Oh, there's our posted objective. We will compare and contrast two literary characters from a novel using the Venn diagram. Said Venn diagram will become the graphic organizer for the 5-paragraph essay. And Bubba's brain goes, damn. But there's some really powerful research behind posting your objective, so I am going to post it. See, here's what I know. After some learning today, some conversation today, some dancing tonight, maybe a little bit of alcohol, your brain's going to make a decision about what you want to keep. And we don't grow our brains during the day. We're too busy processing and interacting. We wait till we're in the rapid eye movement segment of sleep. And then everything will play again in our head in about 12 minutes. And our brain will decide, what do we want to connect to that we saw today that makes sense to what I already had before I woke up this morning? I'm afraid I'm going to become a beatboxer tonight. And it's going to go a long way. I have even been so inspired during the break while y'all were in a session. I learned something. I learned to play a musical instrument. Broncar so inspired me. I can now play the piano. And when he raised his hand and talked about the symphony and asked us if we knew a symphony, shh, shh. This is my Sam telling me what to do next. I also decided I should go highbrow. I can also play the violin. But see, I didn't even know I came for that. I didn't know I was going to learn to play. I'm eager to see what my brain does tonight. I hope it makes some sense. Here's the work that I've been doing with schools since I entered school in the 80s. I think we can ask kids to learn what we want them to learn, or we can ask them to make sense. I haven't met a child on the planet, a human being on the planet, who doesn't make sense. Now, let me back that up. That's not true. That is not true. I know that everybody can make sense. I'm not always certain we ask them to. So I want to give you this, because this is really my objective. I want us to talk about what making sense is. Making sense is as simple as analysis of information. You look at Broncar, you look at John, you look at every session today, and you will decide as you look at it if it makes any sense. And you will decide by saying, how does this connect to what I do and what I am and who I work with? And then if we make that connection, we'll make sense. I'm going to push it a little bit and say, we should force everybody to have the opportunity to make sense. So even though this is a keynote, I'm going to ask you to work a little bit with the people at your table. Check to make sure you sat with good people. If you didn't, this is awkward for both of you. So if you need to move, just move and tell them you couldn't see the screen. That way it doesn't hurt their feelings. Okay? But we have a word that describes the objective for this session. I want us to literally look at information, visual, auditory, however it comes to us, and then communicate what our brain saw. So we're going to ask you today to informate. This is a made-up word. But when I made this up as a principal in a middle school, George Bush was president, so it was okay. No, seriously, everybody was making up words. We just call this educational strategery. And so all I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to look at something for just a minute and then make sense. But I need you ready, because it's not going to last long. Are you ready to look? Go. Did you see it? Which way was it facing? Toward you or to the side? Okay. Now, how many saw both? I saw both. Yay, Melissa Sue. Yay, yay. I'm going to give you bonus points. But the reality, Melissa Sue, is we all saw one way first. Now, here's where I think we get lost as a society, as a culture, as a school, as a teacher-student. I need to know what you saw first. And then we do not need to get lost in what should we have seen first. I don't care what you see. I need to know what you saw. And then I want us to take the collective moment to decide, how did the photographer or the artist or whoever built that thing craft it so that I can see straight on while you see to the side? So I'm going to put it up here one more time, and I want you and your table mates, or talk to a partner for just a minute about how is it the same visual image allows us to have different responses. And then talk about how the imager is manipulating us so that if we look at the same place, we do see the same thing. Take just a moment and look at that again. It's a little disturbing. Tell me what's going on that's true. Tell your partner what's true in that image. When you're ready, let's come back together. I've been watching learners, including myself, for a long time in school. I watch them in the airports. I watch my new grandson as he's making sense of the world and did not come with any background knowledge. And here's what I know. When human beings are making sense and sharing it at the same time, they use their hands. Point to the person at your table who just went this. Do you see that? Look at that and see if you go like that. And what I love is we are so egocentric. When we share with somebody else what we're seeing, we put our hands in front of our face, not theirs. Do you see that? Look right over there. Look right over there. And they're like, I don't know what you're pointing at. Doesn't matter. Look right over there. Look right over there. Because we are egocentric in a moment of learning. We're always thinking about, what about me? How do I make this meaningful? So we're going to play with that just a little bit. I've been playing with this for a long time, and I didn't have a Sam, but I had a Jim Garver who helped me from 2005 to 2014 to literally a week before his death, looking at kids and watching learning. And a week before he died, he held a copy of our book. He never got to see the whole thing printed, but he got the cover and the insert. And we looked at 70,000 classrooms trying to answer the question, what engages human beings, and why do human beings engage regardless of their motivation? Regardless of their background, regardless of all the things that become excuses for us. After Jim died, there was a great hole in my life, but I had another person who became my Sam, and that was Dr. Terry Stice, who is all about technology. I didn't have a power cord this morning. I needed somebody who knew how technology works before I could write a book on technology. So you have a book called Powerful Task Rubric, and I'm convinced of this: technology is not learning. I'll even say this, in some places, technology is taking the place of learning. Because our brains are being wired. The generation that's in 6th grade has only been alive with this in their hand. I know that if I lose my phone and borrow somebody else's, I will never be able to call my mother or father again. I love them dearly, but if I lose my phone, they are lost forever. Because my brain says, don't keep it, Siri's got it. And she's always with you. I remember Susan Justice telling me in the 10th grade, you need to learn these facts, John Antonetti. What are you going to do, carry a calculator in your pocket all your Yes, yes. Yeah, absolutely. I can just say, Siri, here's what dinner costs, what's the tip? Ready, go. Send it to him now. So our brains know that knowledge without purpose should not be stored. Let's save ourselves for something else. Well, what do we save ourselves for? Let me back up just a little bit more. See, when Broncar was talking, I don't know what you took, but here's what I took. He was a ringmaster. I know plumbers, I know truck drivers. I've never met a ringmaster of a circus. And I thought to myself, well, how does that connect to me? Oh, yeah, I was a middle school principal. See? So Broncar, I don't know if you're still in the room, but here's this, buddy. I was so impressed with you, but honestly, not nearly as much as I thought I was. Because when I got to think about it, is a ringmaster who is with elephants and lions, that takes courage. Really walk into a boy's bathroom, that takes courage. Both provide learning moments, though, and I want to talk about my circus just a little bit, because I was a middle school teacher, and I loved middle school because, like y'all know, we're the middle school people. The hand cannot go up without a scream. Woo! Because every day is different. It's hormones. Do you like me today? Check here, yes or no. And that was our faculty. But I love teaching middle school, and after a couple years, I began to pray, though, because I don't know where you live, but in Arkansas, I learned quickly that there are children in the 8th grade who do not want to unlock the secrets of the rock cycle. I know, it surprised me too. So I began to pray that God would move me, because I want to be with children who want to learn. Where are the children who want to learn? And sure enough, I was moved the next year to high school, where children want to learn. I was really lucky, though, because I was one of 3 teachers in the state of Arkansas to teach a course that had, at that time, not existed in our state, advanced placement chemistry. And I see some of you are impressed by that. You should be. You really should. See, it's impressive when you hear that somebody teaches AP chemistry. You know how I know that? Because when I talk about it at Walmart, people are always impressed. See, I'm the only one in this conference room on the list from Arkansas, and I have to, as a speaker, get Walmart into the keynote in the first 20 minutes or I lose my visa. I made it. But here's what I know. when we were at Walmart in the 80s, they had to interview you to see if you were a counterfeiter. I need a work number. Marion High School. Oh my gosh, are you a teacher? I am. And the next question was always, well, what do you teach? And this was my moment to impress everybody. So I would step back so that all the lanes could see me. And I would pose like Hamlet and announce, advanced placement chemistry. And everybody would be impressed. And the checker would always say, oh my gosh, that's like a hard subject. Mm-hmm, it is. You have to be really smart to teach a hard subject. But that's not even true. Because what I realized was I was only teaching one type of child, the highly motivated. They were so highly motivated to get the graduate points, the grade level awards, that if I said, read this chapter, they highlighted it. If I said, do the odd stoichiometry problems in the back, they did the even ones for fun. And if I said, do this project, their parents did great projects. So for 3 years in a row, I went to the National Science Fair, and I began to feel a little bit cocky. I really did. I'll admit that. I thought, I'm really good at this teaching thing. Have you experienced this in your life? When you get, as we say in the South, too big for your britches, the universe will recalibrate you. My wife, who I love dearly, announced she was moving with the children and asked if I wanted to go with them, and I said yes. So we moved. Yeah. She's the band director. So we moved from Marion, Arkansas to the west coast of Arkansas. You may have seen it as Oklahoma. But we moved to a small town of Fort Smith, Arkansas, and I got a job with the Lavaca School District. Lavaca from the Spanish word la vaca, but in Arkansas we say Lavaca. Anyone bilingual? Cow. We moved to Cow, Arkansas. And we moved there because I got a job being the director of gifted programs. They hadn't had gifted programs until I became the director. So I was excited because I was going to cut this path for that school district. And when I got to the school district, I was surprised at how small they were. See, I'd never taught in a school district of fewer than 5,000 children, but Lavaca's total K-12 population was 651. So, I mean, I met the 38 faculty members for the entire district at the obligatory staff development and immediately thought they are a lovely little family. I mean, really, they were all related. But they welcomed me in, and I thought, I cannot wait to meet their gifted children. And then the Sunday before school started, superintendent called me at home. Now, I don't know if y'all have ever had a call from your superintendent at home as a teacher or as an employee. I didn't know how to respond, so I was nervous. But I am well raised. And I could hear the voice of my father in my head, son, when you don't know what to do in a situation, first and foremost, just be polite. I thought, I can be polite. Dr. Stewart, to what do I owe this unexpected pleasure? He said, well, John, I'm not sure if it's a pleasure, buddy. You see, we have a problem. And I said, well, Dr. Stewart, you can't know this about me because I've only been in town 2 weeks, but I am a positive person. I don't even believe in problems. A problem is just an unexplored opportunity. Anyway, Dr. Stewart had been a superintendent for 26 years, so his response was, whatever. He said, John, let me explain your opportunity and you can decide if you want to explore it. I said, yes, sir, yes, sir. He said, John, Rosemary Harris has had her triplets prematurely. I don't know why he's telling me this. I don't know who Rosemary Harris is, and I had nothing to do with the triplets. So I just kept being polite. Well, how is she? He said, she's fine, John, but this took us by surprise. We had a sub lined up, but we have no certified subs at this time. So I'm calling you this fine Sunday afternoon to ask you to step up to the plate. There it is, the sports metaphor. I don't care where you work. If you are in a school, you know when a school administrator uses the sports metaphor, your life's about to change. And I knew that. I said, Dr. Stewart, I will teach 8th grade earth science for you while she is on maternity leave. I'm a team player. He said, well, she didn't teach earth science. I said, oh, advanced placement chemistry. He said, we don't even know what that is. I said, I'm confused. If it's not science or chemistry, what else is there? And he said, kindergarten. See, I believe the brain research is true. We all start making sense visually through analysis. Just look at me. Look at me. Do I look like a kindergarten teacher? See, you know I don't. I don't even own a denim jumper. See, y'all know it was a universal truth. You could not teach kindergarten or primary school in the 80s without an Apple applique, ABC 1, 2, 3. And so I just remember seeing that in my head and screaming into the phone, no. My boss said, what do you mean no? And I said, well, I'm not stepping up to a yes. He said, John, your contract says other duties as assigned. Margaret Saunders is waiting for your phone number, and he gave me a phone number, and he hung up. And I remember thinking, my people come and go so quickly here. I'm looking at a legal pad with a phone number. I don't even know who Margaret Saunders is, but she's going to be my mentor. And I have a picture that's not really true of hers, but this is still how I remember Margaret Saunders. So I dial the number. And if you don't know what I'm doing, whatever. And I'm on the phone, and on the other end, I hear this lovely, southern, genteel voice. Hello. I said, hi, my name is John Antonetti. And she said, shh, baby, I know who you are. And I know why you're calling. So you're going to be a kindergarten teacher. I said, I am, but I don't even like small children, and I don't know how to do this. And she said, shh. Across the phone, she shushed me. And I got quiet. She said, John, slow down, baby. You're going to be fine. I was watching you at staff development last week, and I can tell that you're very bright. And I'll even bet you are probably a very good secondary teacher. That's the way she said it, secondary. I said, may I ask why you're saying the word secondary like that? And she said, well, baby, you know how you secondary people are. I said, no, ma'am, how are we? She said, well, you know, you like your math or your science or your social studies or whatever it is that you teach, and you just love it, and you teach it, teach it, teach it. Cover, cover, cover. She said, baby, you're going to be in primary now. We don't cover. We uncover. We discover. And we chunk it, chunk it, chunk it. I said, I got the first two parts. What do you mean you chunk it, chunk it, chunk it? She said, baby, listen, what I'm going to teach you is you're just going to give the children a small chunk of content, a little chunk of information. And they're going to read about that chunk. They're going to look at that chunk. They're going to color the chunk. They're going to cut the chunk out. They're going to glue the chunk to construction paper. They're going to label the chunk, and they're going to take their chunk home. And we don't move on to the next chunk until they figure that chunk. You got it? I said, well, actually, that makes sense. She said, good, baby, because that's how I'm going to teach you to be a kindergarten teacher, one chunk at a time. I said, okay, you know, I'm enjoying this conversation, but who are you? She said, John, I'm the other kindergarten teacher. I've taught kinder for 32 years, and I'm retiring at the end of this year, and you're going to be my protege. And I said, I don't want to be a protege. And she said, shh. And I got quiet again. She said, now listen, if you're ready, there's some homework. I said, we haven't started school. She said, baby, there's always homework. Any learner always has homework. Sometimes we tell them what it is, sometimes they decide, but anybody who's in a learning moment always has homework. So I'm gonna tell you your homework. And I grabbed a legal pad and I wrote down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because that's what you do in secondary. I said, okay, first, go ahead, I'm ready. First, what do I need to do first? She said, first, baby, get a good night's sleep. And I wrote that down, get a good night's sleep. I said, okay, what do I do second? She said, baby, there's no second, that's a chunk. I said, what? She said, seriously, baby, what can I tell you right now? Your world's just been turned upside down, hasn't it? I said, yes. And she said, then just go to bed. I said, I don't think I can sleep. And she said, well, then take something, because listen, baby. She said, I'm telling you, you are not prepared for the energy that's about to strike around your knees. And I need you rested. I said, okay, but then what do I do? She said, meet me at school at 6. I said, do they start at 6 in kindergarten? She said, no, baby, but John, I'm sure Dr. Stewart did not have the courage to tell you this, but baby, I don't know if Rosemary got her room ready. Now, those were elementary people who just made a noise. Because in secondary, if they're the room, I'm ready. But in primary, you have to have a theme, and everything has to match the theme. When I got there the first day, she hugged me in the parking lot. We walked in, and she said, oh, good, Rosemary already has a theme. We were butterflies that year. I learned that because she said, uh-oh, John, the butterflies aren't ready. I said, what? She said, look, John, the cubbies. The cubbies have butterflies, but the cubbies aren't ready. I said, the cubbies, what are you talking about? And she pointed to these vertical wooden caskets that had been nailed to a wall. And she said, those are the cubbies and they're not ready. I said, oh, I thought something completely different, because I grew up in Chicago and the cubbies were never ready. This was in the 80s. Let it go, let it go. That's what you're going to see tonight. And so we began to put the names of every child above the cubbies for their cubby, where they would put stuff. I actually thought the children were supposed to go in there, but that's not what they do. And so as we're getting ready, Marcia would ask me questions like, John, what's the most important thing for a learner to experience on the first day of school? I told her what I thought. John, when you were working with middle schools and they didn't want what you were selling, how did you make them want it? I told her what I tried. Told her some success I had. And about 20 minutes after putting the names on the cubbies, I realized this is a ruse. We're not getting the cubbies ready. She's salmon me. She's getting me ready. And every time I talked about something I tried that worked, I felt a little bit more capable. And by the time she had worked her magic, she said, now, baby, I'm going to go to your room. You just follow the script I left you, okay? She hugged me and off she went. I thought, I got this. I got this. And then they came. And there was weeping and wailing. There was pulling and grabbing and clutching. But once the parents left, it was just me and 32 5-year-olds. I'd like to tell you what I remember from that first day, but honestly, post-traumatic stress disorder erased it all. I do remember the 4th week of school. That's when my memories started to come back. Because the 4th week of school, we had a training session on our new standards. And as I was looking at all the stuff kindergartners were supposed to learn, I got a little overwhelmed. Marcia said, are you okay? Margaret said, are you okay? I said, I'm not, Margaret, I'm not. I'm a little overwhelmed. She said, baby, don't even bother reading those standards. You're not ready for them yet. I said, what? And she said, the girls and I have talked. That's everybody else in the building who's not me, the girls. The girls and I have talked, and you have not even mastered the first standard that is so basic, it's not even written in the curriculum document. I said, what's the first standard? She said, John, it is the power standard for kindergartner. And if the kindergartners don't learn it, they live a life less than their own potential. I said, oh my gosh, why isn't it written down? She said, because everybody assumes you know it. Y'all know the kindergarten power standard? The learners will be able to line up. And if you don't think that's big, just go to an airport. Stand tonight at the buffet and see what happens. I have been called out of TSA when somebody went around me and I asked, did you go to kindergarten? But I will admit, lining up wasn't going well in my classroom. I knew it too, so I promised all the ladies there, I said, ladies, I'll work harder. And one of the first grade teachers poked me. I didn't know that was part of the PLC, that you poke your colleagues. But she poked me and said, you better get this. I'm not taking your kids next year if they can't line up. But Okay. Unfortunately, there were no books about lining up at the time. We didn't have the internet yet, so I just thought I'm gonna have to try something. So the next day, we're walking back to class after recess. Me and my children, they're behind me. In hindsight, that's probably not good, but they're behind me. And Margaret steps out of her door and she sees me and my children and she says, "Bless your heart." Now see, the people from the South just laughed because they are also bilingual. They know when a Southern woman says, "Bless your heart," what she's really saying is, "You're just pitiful." I knew that because I'm bilingual, and I said, "Margaret, don't bless my heart in front of my children." She said, "John, turn and look at your children." I turned and I looked. They were all there, so much better than last week. And then Margaret started teaching, and her strength was she never asked you for the answer she wanted. She's always asked you, "What do you see, John?" She said, "John, look at your children. What do you see?" And I said, "Well, I see that they're struggling." She said, "Do you see a line?" I said, "I don't see a line." She said, "What geometric figure do you see?" I said, "I don't see a geometric figure. The closest connection I can make is to a piece of literature, Lord of the Flies. It looks like Lord of the Flies." And then Margaret said, "John, let me tell you what they look like to an old gal from Stuttgart, Arkansas. Your children look like geese landing in a rice field." As I turned, it was a perfect description because 3 of the boys were circling. Some of the girls are kicking each other and pulling stuff off the wall. And I had a little meltdown right there in front of my mentor. I said, "I don't know what to do. They won't stay still. It's like nailing Jell-O to a wall. I think I've got it," and then it goes everywhere. And she calmed me down. She said, "It's okay, baby. It's okay, John. Oh, baby, the problem is your children just don't have a good model." Now, see, that's not even Southern passive-aggressive. That is straight out hostile. And I said, "What do you mean? Look at me. I know how to line up." And she said, "Well, congratulations, baby, that you know how. Do they?" I said, "Well, I don't know how to get them here. I keep showing them, but it doesn't work." She said, "Baby, start with what you see. Start with what they know." And I said, "Well, therein lies an issue. There's such a wide range of abilities, they don't all know the same thing." She said, "Look at them again, baby." As I watched and they were flying around, Marcia went into this trance. And she looked at me and said, "John, look at your children. They want to be birds." And then she turned and walked into the mist. And I remember standing in the hallway thinking to myself, what the hell was that? And as I'm watching the children, I thought, they do want to be birds. Start with what they know. Start with what they know. They want to be birds. I got it. Boys and girls, come to the carpet, come to the carpet. Come to the carpet is kindergarten for come to Jesus. It means something's about to go down. So we're on the carpet. I said, "Boys and girls, I want to talk to you, and I want to talk to you honestly. I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I need to tell you something that's true. Mrs. Saunders and all the other teachers think we are the worst class of liner-uppers in the whole history of Lavaca." And as I did this, they did this. Because in school, kids often mimic us. 5th and above, they mock us. But I said, "You know what else she says?" She says, "It's not your fault. We're going to learn this together." But she says that when we go down the hall, we look like a flock of geese flying into a rice field. Boys and girls, can you see that in your head? Who can think what a goose is? Who knows what a goose is? And the kids all started to honk and flap, and that was bad. That was bad. It's okay. Shh. Crisscross applesauce. I know why you just got excited and some of you jumped up and started flying bus, because who wouldn't want to be a bird? So you know what I'm thinking? From now on, when we line up, we will always be birds. But I have a question for you. What if we were birds that could not fly? Boys and girls, who can think of a bird that cannot fly? Sidebar. The problem with asking any human being, much less kindergartners, who can think of something, is then you have to take any answer that is logical, reasonable, or rational, whether it was in the lesson plan or not. Who can think? Sidebar number 2. When you ask a question, even in kindergarten, Melissa Sue raises her hand. Bubba shouts from the back, "I know one, I know one." Okay, Bubba, Do you know a bird that cannot fly? Yep, a dead one. You know, Bubba, that is so true. We're just going to stop for a moment and let that truth land. Let me change my question. Boys and girls, who can think of a living bird that is unable to fly? Melissa Sue, I see your hand up. Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. How about a chicken with a clutch? A chicken with a clutch? Why does a chicken have a clutch? I thought they were automatic. Melissa Sue says, oh, Mr. Antonetti, I forgot you're from this city, so you don't know this. You don't know what I mean by a clutch. See, Mr. Antonetti, a chicken can only lay 1 egg a day, but they want to have like 8 or 9 babies. So what a chicken does is they lay 1 egg on a Monday, 1 egg on a Tuesday, 1 egg on a Wednesday, 1 egg on a Thursday, 1 egg on a Friday, and that's when I interrupted. I said, 1 a day, right? She said, that's the pattern. But after they have 8 or 9 eggs together, that's called a clutch. And they sit on the clutch at the same time, so the babies will all hatch the same day. I said, well, I didn't know that. But wait, what were we talking about? Oh, yeah. So a chicken has a clutch, and that's why they can't fly? No, sir. See, we sell the eggs at our house, so when a chicken wants to have a clutch and my mom says, get the eggs, that chicken does not want me to take her babies. So when I start to reach in to take her eggs, she will do this. She'll go, and that's how you know it's time. I said, time for what? She said, time to take your other hand, and while she's watching this one, you grab her wing and pull it over her head. I said, oh, why would you do that to a bird? She said, because that's what paralyzes her. How many just had to say paralyze out loud to yourself to make it make sense? Me too, me too. Can you see it in your head? I mean, literally, I saw it in my head, but 2 weeks later, I saw it for show and tell. And then it dawned on me, we're on the carpet, we're going nowhere. Hell, we're in this keynote and we haven't gone anywhere. It's time to regroup. So boys and girls, shh, just listen to me. This is a moment of teaching. Shh. Who can think, put your hand down. Who can think of a bird that cannot fly but is not dead and is not paralyzed? But the reason it can't fly is because its little tiny black and white wings are low on its body. Like that picture of the animals from the Arctic right over there. Look at the piglet. Yes. Note to self, how long do you engage children before you just tell them? So we had this great little moment. Now, what Marcia taught me in my little training in the hallway was when you want kids to learn something, you engage them, and then you make sure it's accessible. What does that mean? Well, I didn't really figure it out fully until years later when I read a book by John Medina called Brain Rules. John Medina says that if you're going to engage somebody, I'm going to skip a slide, you have to make sure that the task of their learning has a visual component, an emotional component, and is a pattern that can be repeated or a truth that can be seen elsewhere. Well, how do you make lining up like a penguin visual, emotional, and pattern-centric? Oh, wait, I'm a biology teacher. I can do this. Boys and girls, I got this. Boys and girls, you know penguins have wings, right? But they can't fly. So what do they do with those wings? Yeah, they use them when they're underwater. They can swim underwater, and they propel themselves with those little wings. So when we are lining up next time and we're penguins, you just keep them right here. You can do this all you want. Stand up, boys and girls. And I had them stand up. I want you to do this too. You don't have to stand up, but just do this. Put your wings down here. Boys and girls, you know how a human arm can have all kinds of fluid movement? Penguin wings do not have that. Through a process called evolution, their wings have been fused. Please, right now, just flap your wings. That's as big as you can flap. You may flap anytime we're in the library or lining up. You can flap all you want. Watch this, boys and girls. Try to pull something off a bulletin board. You cannot. And penguins' legs are so close together, their legs are so short underneath all that fat and feather that when they try to kick somebody, they cannot. So we're going to be feathers, but here's the really cool thing. We're going to be penguins. But you know how when they're underwater, you're probably thinking, well, how come they don't drown? Because they can't hold their nose, right? Well, this is cool. Penguins have developed the ability to close their nostrils when they're underground. They are actually more at risk of drowning when they're out of the water, because when their nostrils are open, snow and ice are always blowing at the Antarctic. And if the ice gets lodged in their nose, it's so cold it doesn't melt. And boys and girls, the penguins die a horrible, painful death called asphyxiation. I know, I didn't say I was a good kindergarten teacher. I said, so you know what they do? They keep their heads down so the snow will blow over. But what if they want to go somewhere, like PE? Well then, the bravest penguin risks his life by looking straight ahead. And all the other penguins get behind that penguin and lift their head so high the snow goes over them. And it's such a dangerous job, we have to rotate. The penguins rotate that job every 32 days. And the rest of the penguins stand behind, and all they can see is the head in front of them. And they don't look down because they can drown. And they don't get out of line because that's when other animals eat them. So we practice being penguins around the learning centers, around the math centers. It is now time for lunch, boys and girls. Please line up. And Bubba yelled, oh, who's the line leader? I said, oh, shh. Penguins can't talk. And he went like this. I said, Robert, you are the emperor penguin. Would you please take your place? And as he stood there, the other penguins got in line. And I said, boys and girls, today we're going to take the long way to the cafeteria, right past Mrs. Saunders' classroom. Please be the best penguin you can be. If you agree with me, put your head up, or Robert, straight forward. Let us march. We went outside in the hallway, hands low, feet together, straight line, heads up. I'm sorry. It was beautiful. It was just beautiful. I got him to the library and a cafeteria, and I got him seated. And I knew it was time. I needed to see my Sam. I needed to see my mentor. I needed to see my friend and my colleague. I knew where she'd be. She has first lunch, so she's in the smokers' teachers' lounge. I don't think there are any of those left anymore, but in the 80s, we had a smokers' teachers' lounge, and I knew Margaret would be there with her Marlboro. So I walked in, and there she was. She said, walked in by my classroom, did you, baby? I said, did you see my children? She said, I saw your children just as you intended for me to. She said, congratulations, baby. You obviously found a way to make it engaging and accessible, visual and emotional. Let's hope the pattern sticks. I said, the pattern's going to stick. You can't compliment her and then say that. She said, I'm sorry, baby. Just live the compliment, okay? It looks great. Congratulations. I'm proud of you. What'd you do, penguins? I said, yeah, I did penguins. How did you know? She said, well, baby, they look like penguins. She took another drag and then said, penguins always work. I said, penguins always work. I've been struggling for 4 weeks. You couldn't have shared that little gem of knowledge 4 weeks ago? And she said, baby, John, have you ever seen the movie The Wizard of Oz? I said, yeah, it's one of my family favorites. She said, well, baby, I'm Glenda. She said, if I had told you, you wouldn't have believed me. Dorothy wouldn't have believed her either. Dorothy Gale of Kansas, Bubba Dover in your kindergarten class, and John Antonetti have a lot in common. I said, I'm eager to hear what this is. He said, if I tell you, you're not going to learn it. If you see it and figure it out, it's yours forever. Congratulations, baby. You just had some learning. I said, well, honestly, I feel kind of manipulated. She said, bingo. Because that's what we do for each other. We help each other through some sort of manipulation of our relationship, of our time, of our goals, of what we want to accomplish. And what I know is if we're going to learn it, it's going to be vision, pattern, and emotion. So I'm going to ask you to do another moment. This is a personal response moment, and I want to see what you see, and nobody's going to get it wrong. And then in a minute, we'll share what we see to see the truth that other people found. When the brain is making sense, it doesn't make sense wrong. It may not have the words to articulate, but it will make sense. So we're going to informate like Sesame Street. One of these things is not like the other. One of these things just doesn't belong. It's real important that in this next moment you write down your thoughts so you can see it. It's also equally important that you don't share your thought with anybody, because the brain research says this: when somebody in a class or community or a conversation shouts out their answer before everybody gets a chance to think, everyone else stops thinking. John Medina, the molecular biologist, has a name for this phenomenon when one person's thought stops the thinking or takes the place of thinking. He calls it bastardization of thought. It's an unfortunate term, but I like it. So in this next moment, write down your thoughts, but don't talk out loud, because if you do, you're a bastardizer. One of these things is not like the other. One of these things just doesn't belong. Look at my list, write your answer down, but don't talk, bastardizers. Here we go. Horse, H-O-R-S-E. Clock, C-L-O-C-K. Anvil, A-N-V-I-L. Nose, N-O-S-E. Don't overthink it. Which doesn't belong and why? While you're finishing up, I'll write mine, because sometimes when the teacher models, that's helpful. Can you read mine? I hope not. Because if I write mine too fast before you have an answer, I'm the biggest bastardizer of them all. So I wrote it so you can't read it, but I will show you this. I wrote, the horse doesn't belong because it's the only one that can pull a wagon. Is that true? Can a horse pull a wagon? Could a clock? Anvil? Nose? No, not by itself. So my answer is logical. Do me a favor, in whatever you wrote down, circle your answer, but put a box down that explains what your brain saw. And if you didn't write that down, draw a box and put your answer in it. In the learning cycle, if the learner doesn't get to start with what they already can see because of what they've seen in the past, we don't coach them forward. They don't move forward. All we do is run over them with a different thought. So I'd like somebody who has an interesting circle box to tell me, not your answer circle, but your box. Who wants to share the box? Yes, sir. One vowel. Do you see the truth of one vowel? If he's thinking one vowel and we can all see it now, which one doesn't belong? Clock only has a single vowel. Give me another box. Yes, sir. Vowel to start, a starting vowel. Do you see it? Which one doesn't belong? Anvil, because the anvil starts with the vowel while the others. No, informate. You have to say it out loud or else it's not going to land tonight. This is going to really sound silly, but the brain research says this. If I say anvil has a vowel at the beginning, but the others don't, that's not going to land tonight because others also has a vowel in it. Are you the person who wakes up and recalls the crazy dreams? You ever had those dreams where you wake up and you go downstairs and you say, you're not going to believe the dream I had. I was driving a donut as fast as I could, and a zebra was chasing me saying, ooh la la, ooh la la. What do you think that means? I'm going to tell you what it means. Your brain grows during the night and connects to stuff we already know. And the last moment of REM is we recycle one more time all the images that didn't land. And so if you got up this morning coming downstairs going, are there no donuts? I don't see a donut. They're dangerous, but I wanted a donut. And then you bump into the lady who's wearing a black and white striped blouse. And later on, when you're sitting down with the people who came here from Canada, they say, ooh la la, and you're trying to put it all together. And your brain won't. See, I don't know what you're going to take away from this conference, but I know this. I had a kid once tell me, runs. The answer is runs, or the thinking is run, because a horse can run, a clock can run, and a nose can run. How many have this answer? Anvil doesn't belong because it's the only one I don't know what the hell it is. We always make sense by connecting. So I don't know what you're going to take from this keynote or from Bronco or the session you went to. We won't know until tomorrow, but I do know this. As adults, we also can fake our brain into growing during the day, because we are past puberty, most of us. And the reality is this: where and when are you when you do your best adult thinking? I mean, anything connected to sleep is number 3. Have you ever driven home and had clarity when you got there? To and from work, driving is really important for adults because it's automatic. You can drive home. Have you ever done this? You arrive in the driveway and you think, I don't even remember going through town. And look, I picked up the children. It's because it's so automatic, our brain doing the motion goes through the motion, freeing us up to store stuff and grow. Number one, though, the most important place our brain makes sense, the shower. Think about this. Do you ever grab the soap or the sponge and have to be cognitive? Ooh, where should I start? No. We are automatic enough that we just start. I am a right soap, left shoulder showerer. Please take a moment and just look at this. Did you see it? Because here's what's going to happen. Whether you know it tonight, while you're asleep, you are going to play everything that happened, and you are all going to see me shower. The good news for most of you is it won't land, because your brain's going to say, that's how John showers. Do I see that in myself? How do I feel about my own showering? Have I thought about my own showering? And if you've been metacognitive about showering, you will not know you saw me tonight. But 1 out of 6 of you, unfortunately, have not yet been cognitive about how you shower. So tomorrow you're going to be thinking, what time's breakfast? You'll jump in the shower, you will touch soap, and suddenly I'm going to be with you. Margaret is still with me. Vision, pattern, emotion. I'm going to have to skip my grandson. I can't believe I'm skipping my grandson. We got to stay on schedule. We're also not doing high school math. My grandson and high school math, the 2 best things we could have done, but we're going to skip it. I had too much planned. This is why Jesus didn't use PowerPoint. Can you imagine if he had? Blessed are the Peter, next slide. I mean, it just would have, I don't know, been a little odd. But I want to get here in just a moment. With our colleagues, with our spouses, with our children, with our learners, with our students, it's not our job to plan what people should think. It's our job to plan that they will think. I got to believe that's one of the core pieces of the SAM relationship. We put in place structures, protocols, conversations, that nitpickiness you were even talking about, Mark, that remind me I need to make sense. I don't know when I will graduate and stop learning. I don't know what you're going to do today with this information, but I do believe this. Margaret said it to me when I started teaching with her years ago. If you're going to learn, John, there's always homework. There's always a little more homework to do. So I want to end with a song that came from a musical on Broadway called 13. When a little boy who's facing his bar mitzvah, recognizing that the passage from being a child to an adult is recognizing you don't know it all. This is homework from 13. Nope. Yeah, this is why Jesus didn't use PowerPoint. We'll do it without. As I stand here before you, and you call me a man, and you're counting on me to come through, you should know that I'll give you the best that I can, but we all have a little more homework to do. And if you're walking beside me and you want to be friends, please know I'll depend upon you. But if you're going to go with me, then we have to concede that we all have a little more homework to do. I've been looking in the back of the book for the answers, hoping the bell won't chime. I'm not ready to put down my pencil just yet. There are too many questions that I didn't get. I need a little less pressure and a little more time. I'm trying to follow, while I'm trying to lead, and I'm trying to find what is true. So if we're going to do this, we gotta stay till the end, 'cause we all have a little more homework to do. I'm John Antonetti, I'm 56, and I'm a learner. See you in the shower.